This is not a product for retail. This is a fully institutional product.
Some members went to LehmanBush's Shenzhen office and found it was completely empty. There were no people, no logos, no signage.
Either is something wrong with you or you don't understand the product. This is a personal effort that came from my PhD research. I just finished my PhD in international law. My focus was compliance on digital assets. There is, in my mind, just one system that can support live data reporting. It's Kaspa.
Supported by IgraLabs, Atomic Programmability on a Kaspa blog tag. Cascade. Use your Kaspa without selling it.
Good to have you back on the podcast, Angel.
Nice to have me.
Awesome. Look, I wanted to have you over to discuss your first compliance platform built on Kaspa via IgraLabs, layer 2, a regulation tech company, you call it GS compliance. So I want to get into that. But before that, though, I do want to discuss what we discussed last time, or perhaps what we started last time. I want to carry on that discussion. But the first thing is introduction, right? So let me do a quick introduction. You call yourself Kaspa Intern, but by profession, you are an international lawyer and a director at LehmanBush. When we connected last time, you mentioned you're building a bridge, essentially to bring institutional investors to Kaspa via your ambitious 500 million institution fund, right? So let me start by asking you, how's things been since we connected last time?
Yes. Okay. So on the fun part, we are making this effort to open a ADGM 3C license fund manager. The name will be LehmanBush Capital. One of the shareholders of this obviously is LehmanBush as a advisory firm, and the idea from this qualified this fund manager is actually to have a qualified investment fund. So a QIF is a company, is a one individual fund, is a closed-end fund, which will be accumulating Kaspa for the time horizon of 3 to 5 years. That's the intention. We submitted the application to Abu Dhabi Global Markets on the 27th of February. And obviously, this was just the Friday before the war started.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but this not the best timing, but we are eager than the regulator has, since they have a very long-term thinking, and everything will be going well on that side. It might take a month or two to have this in principle approval, and then we can convert some sort of our first conversations or soft commitments into actual binding agreement, right?
I see.
So yeah, with it, in that sense, part of the strategy we have is to onboard, obviously, high-level individuals in the MENA region, companies that could accumulate Kaspa on their balance sheet. Ideally, some of them hopefully will be traditional, sizable companies. And we're trying to do our efforts and work as a network, try to attend international conferences on this side and try to bring as much people together to know about Kaspa. So how is the mechanics of this? And I want to be super clear. This is a fully institutional product. This is not a product for retail, meaning I will only be offered or advertising to community or retail individuals, any of this. This will be a product that will be just exclusively for high net worth individual or institutional investors and corporations. And this is a very regulated product, which also will be having a custodian that is highly regulated. We were looking at, and we hope to do this with Kraken Institutional. I am not sure on the lens of whether by the time we authorize this and with the regulator, that will be the case. But we were looking at some tier like prop, U.S. banking level custody. Will be full custody. We won't be trading coins or trying to speculate on the market. Is a 3 to 5 year horizon. And obviously, we as a fund manager will be looking at our revenue, which will be the performance of such asset at the time of closing, as most 220 fund manager structures they're built for. And that's like the background of what's happening. The documentation, was submitted.
That's great. I wanted to say, that episode we did last year with you obviously got a lot of engagement because people loved it. There's a first institution coming in. Perhaps DII is the first one, and obviously this is the fund, but also had a lot of criticism. All the stuff that happened, I want to get into in a second. But quickly though, could you please explain LehmanBush? Who they are, just quickly again. I know we discussed in the last podcast.
Okay, so LehmanBush is a full investment advisory company founded by Dr. Edward Lehman and Neil Bush in the early 2000s. Dr. Edward Lehman is an American attorney who lives in China for over 37 years. He actually is, he was the first American lawyer to be president of the AmCham, American Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai, I think, and he has been appointed as a consultant for AmCham for many years. He has been invited several times to Chinese CCTV, like national television, on a weekly basis as a expert legal advisor. So yeah, well, I can tell you that he's a person with enough experience and investment network in the Asia region that will bring value to us in terms of connections and bringing up experience, of course.
Obviously, with this fund, whenever it goes live, of course, as you say, it's submitted on the 27th of February to ADGM. So whatever time it takes for the approval it takes, right? But for this to happen, you will have some custodian who will hold the Kaspa, right? So that obviously opens up a lot of questions around Kaspa itself. But yeah, so you were looking at Kraken institution?
Yes, correct. Yeah, we had some conversation with Kraken institution. We haven't obviously engage them because we need the in-principle approval to do so. The thing about Kraken is, the good thing about Kraken is they have a Wyoming banking license. So they are a very serious financial institution in the US. And the other thing is, they already know Kaspa and they're familiar with Kaspa. So obviously our intention to have a full custody product is not having the risk of performing any kind of trades or daily issues that could lead to volatility and actually maybe devastating scenarios on our stakeholders. Is mostly the idea of holding the asset for 3 to 5 years in a full custody basis. So that's what we were looking at. And that's what we will perform and what actually what the regulator will be looking at after looking at our private placement, right?
And you submitted the application, so the process is ongoing, right? And obviously the whole US-Iran conflict started, around that time. How long it normally takes for such process to happen from the regulator side?
Usually it takes always a couple of months. Obviously, it takes a couple of months, and among this back and forth on the filings, you have also interviews and so on. But I'm sure that, as I said, like even though the situation in the MENA region is volatile, I believe at least that the vision of the UAE government, and mostly the planning, they are planning 5, 10, 20, 30 years ahead. So that long-term thinking ideally will be good overall, and I believe also trust should come back. And obviously, kinds of people, like the people that just when this conflict started, they will never come back, and that's it, is a no-go. And people that will just look at the long game and say, okay, this is substantial things have not changed. Maybe it will be a long-term vision. So let's see if things get better. But yeah, from our side, we did submitted the documentation. We're waiting for the feedback, and obviously this is a tremendous effort to make this. I mean, it took us a couple of months on due diligence, more than 2 months, 3 months in actually drafting the documentation and submit all the annexes. And it's a tremendous amount of effort.
Let me ask you this thing. How much effort has gone into it to get this application with the regulators?
So it's not just about, I mean, it's not just about the capital that this costs, because if you are a private company, apart from the time that you have to put into these applications, because, for example, as a fund manager, you have to have the directors, and you have to have people on your board, which will be the management part of the company, right? So those profiles, those CVs have to be looked into the regulator, and each of the persons that will be part of our management, and they have to file additional forms according to the regulator in their standards. So it is a substantial amount of time, and not just from us filing the documentation, but also for the people that are engaging with this initiative at the same time. There is a lot of coordination that you have to do, because obviously they are asking you for technical information, commercial information, financial information. When it comes to the drafting the information on the underlying asset, okay, that you have to brief the regulator on what Kaspa is, go through all this various array of explanations, and it's not easy, but it has to be done, obviously. And then you have the problem of you have to coordinate efforts just also with the attorney, the legal office that you have to retain to do this possible, right? And not mention that this involves a tremendous economic effort. So if you see that there is a company or two private companies trying to retain legal services, and they will apply to a regulator to present a vehicle which will be compliant with the laws of the UAE, and it will offer in a regulated manner this Kaspa Qualified Investment Fund opportunity, will open just the possibility to institutions or high net worth individuals, just only accredited investors, not retail, to own Kaspa through this vehicle, right? And this vehicle has a full custody with a Wyoming tier 1 banking institution. So if you see all these efforts,
it's a lot of effort
from the community or from anywhere else, you want to fought this initiative. I mean, either is something wrong with you or you don't understand the product. Because if I will be like, I don't know, raising capital from the Kaspa community to launch a coin to make this happen, okay, you can say whatever you want, and that won't be very very kosher thing to do. But then if you're doing this on your own time, and it's taking you a substantial amount of months, travels, have to go back and forth to the UAE for many, many times, and engaging in all these events to get the stakeholders on board and try to preach Kaspa at many different levels. I mean, you can take your conclusions on your own, right?
Yeah. No, I think that's why I wanted to discuss this, because I want to get into what could be the reasons, right? So
Sure.
just to set the context here, right? Right after we uploaded the episode and, people watched the episode, I started to get DMs, right? I started to get pushback. The reasoning, perhaps people were, DMing me on XXIM is because specific community, right? So this is Kaspa Chinese community members, some members went to LehmanBush's Shenzhen office and found it was completely empty, right? There were no people, no logos, no signage, right? They share photos, videos, which obviously fuels skepticism, right? I mean, and from my perspective, a healthy dose of criticism it's good, right? Like you can have back and forth. So that's why part of the reason why I wanted to have you is to discuss, what could be the reasons, also your perspective on that, right? I'm sure you were tagged on all of those
No,
discussions
of
as well.
course. Of course. Actually, I received an email from Edward Lehman from some crypto Twitter folk that tried to send a message to him.
Not that someone emailed you.
No. Not someone that emailed me. It's someone that emailed LehmanBush office
Lehman
asking
Bush's office.
if I was just taking LehmanBush's name on my own, trying to regard to some initiative on crypto, this was real or not.
Angel, you're on
Yeah.
the website, right? So people go to Lehman Bush's website.
I am
You're
on
there.
I am on the website as director to Latin American and the Baltics. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're there, but still someone messaged the Lehman Bush's office asking you.
Yeah, main office, and Dr. Lehman, obviously, as an attorney, he requires this person to identify himself, and this person obviously did not. So I think that's the problem. There is two layers in here. One is like sometimes people in crypto Twitter or people online, you are behind a JPEG, you can say whatever you want, you think you have any liabilities. That changes a little bit in the real world. And the other thing is, which is interesting, okay, if you want to make an assessment of something, it has to be different than you do like, I don't know, meme coin projects and so on. I mean, you go to the website, you click something, you say, no, this is not, Dr. Lehman is a boomer. I mean, if someone was complaining that the website you click something and shows up like an updated link or something, I mean, how relevant is that for me? For me, it's absolutely relevant, because on the level that you make business is not like, you have to have this, I don't know, priority requirement that everything has to follow crypto Twitter's mood. But on the other side, I think also is could be anger from people that they either don't understand the product, so they think they're trying to launch some sort of financial instrument through a token or something like this, and there will be people naive enough that they will buy this token and they will get absolutely scammed or wrecked. But then they don't understand what you're trying to do. Actually, is do the complete opposite. Is try to put together a dossier of a regulated product that will just circulate among institutional investors, not retail investors, and that this is a highly regulated product that actually, have a regulator and a custodian attached to it. And if there is anyone, let's say, that is crazy enough to spend his own, capital on their own dime to build a company, to request approval from a regulator for listing Kaspa, and you want to damage that initiative, obviously you want to damage Kaspa. So the only reason is like either you try to create some sort of FOD to trade against the market, but Kaspa is tiny. I mean, go to Polymarket if you want to do such thing. But I don't know. I mean, so I don't understand I kind of understand also that there is a lot of concerns in the community on money and price, and they think that any kind of news has to pump the price. But that's short-term thinking. I mean, if you look at things that have proprietary development, take many years to develop and take many years to go out. And of course, technology is not the only important thing. We have to, adoption and partnerships and stakeholder interest, and this has to come with any sorts of project or initiatives. But from my point of view, if you receive such I receive very positive feedback also to mission, and I think that is by multiples of magnitude more relevant, and actually is bigger than any negative comment that is out there. And yeah
100%. I think I was going to say, I think it was definitely well received message, but I think some of these photos and videos from the Shenzhen office perhaps confused people a little bit, right? And it diluted a little bit of the impact that we had initially, I think, when we launched the episode. So I think it definitely had an impact, but not, as you say, perhaps, and one of the things I kept thinking back of my mind is, you're not selling this product to retail. So it is going to be an institutional product. And we discussed specifically many, many times on the episode. So I kept on thinking why people were coming out. It wasn't to protect the other retail holders, right? And that's the right thing to do if you're protecting. So I kept on thinking, what could be the reason here that people are criticizing it? And I couldn't come up with any reason. So I kept on thinking that, and I still don't know.
If I have a tinfoil, conspiracy theory guy, you have two options. The people just want to push negative, sentiment on Kaspa to accumulate more or try to trade on the market. But again, like, which kind of market news or candles you could have in this kind of, YouTube videos, like it's very small.
Yeah. It's not like there's any, it's not like there's an update from the core team, or it's not like a new exchange listing it. Anyways, I couldn't get my head around it. So if you have any more tinfoil, let's discuss it, because I want to move forward from this topic then.
No, I have no idea. Again, and I guess, this sort of situations will be more clear into the future. So I don't know what are these people's intentions. I don't know what, who's supporting them, who's financing them. I have no idea, and also I have no interest in having any idea, because it's nothing that is related to my profession or my work or something like that. And so apart from that, you mentioned you wanted to talk about GS compliance, right?
Yes, but let me get to that part. I do want to ask one question on the fund, right? Like, when you mentioned on the podcast that it's going to be $500 million fund, right? Kaspa is sitting around 800 million-ish market cap. 500 million will buy you 60% of Kaspa at this current market price. Of course, that doesn't happen because the market price starts to shoot up. But where are you going to find all this Kaspa?
No, I said up to 500 million.
Up to yes, up to 500.
The idea is, obviously that won't be like in one go. We were intending to do this in individual tranches, but if there is an earlier close on the fund of an early tranche, it doesn't mean that we won't try to reach this $500 million. That's kind of like the goal. I think from a geographical perspective, from that investment ticket is completely reasonable. Again, but then obviously, if this takes a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, we will see. Hopefully, that's the intention. So that's our target. If we reach lower, we can understand that we will have self commitments in the future that will represent a substantial part of that. But again, it doesn't mean that you will close such amount.
Yeah, I think I got it, because that's a typical way of launching these funds, right? You go in trenches, you raise money, and then you go deploy that capital, right? So it's going to be trench deployment. That I understand, and thanks for clarifying, because I think we didn't discuss that last time, so it's good to clarify certain things that we didn't get to last time. Cool. All right, let's move on to our exciting news of you shipping your first product, right? I don't know if I just made it up, but you launched your first product, regulation technology, compliance platform, right? A GS automated compliance engine built on top of IGRA layer 2 on Kaspa, right? So tell us what it is and what it does.
So this is a personal effort that came from my PhD research. I just finished my PhD in international law. My focus was compliance on digital assets. And I believe that compliance on crypto is very different than traditional fintech compliance. The problem is people try to wrap up legislation as crypto is same as a traditional banking system or fintech when it's not. And the problem is for some, you have very specific issues on filing for regulators, data and compliance in documentation that should have some sort of a standard format. In digital assets is quite specific. So what I wanted to do is, I wanted to have a place in which you can make easier the life of in-house compliance teams or companies to make the reporting more easier, right? And the next stage of this, and I think that's why Kaspa is fundamental, is in order to have, let's say, liquidity reserves, treasury reserves, proof of composition, or proof of liabilities even. Static systems that they have monthly, quarter reportings, they're not enough. You should have instant live data reporting. And I think last time we discussed about this Chainlink automation engine, how you could have, let's say, near to instant reporting in anything that could happen. And why is relevant? Because if you have a stable coin, for example, and it depegs per second, or it doesn't matter, if you lose some sort of a peg or like a triggering event like October 10th and so on, you will have a devastating effect on the other side. And whether that is mechanical or that is intentional, you should have a way to track that or to trigger alerts on this on a real time decentralization stage. And I think Kaspa is built perfectly for such solution. So yeah, my automatic compliance engine initially is just a way to, you have jurisdictions. Either you are in the digital asset industry or the energy trading industry. You can select regulators, and you can put things in a format that makes sense and have a proof of compliance with a smart contract call, which is made on IGRA and is like a incredibly fast sub-second confirmation basis. So yeah, that was a tool, and I did it as a way to first disseminate my thesis, my doctoral research work, and also as ideally as a tool for people to play around this in the future. But the idea of this is, no matter what you're doing, you could build something on Kaspa if you want to, and that's super cool. For instance, we were discussing just before going live on how there is huge potential for Kaspa to be the infrastructure or the tool for many international initiatives. And one of that is, for example, the ISDA, the International Securities and Derivatives Association. The ISDA is like an institution that has more than 40 years of standing, and they have come up with standards for the financial industry for many, many years for the largest financial institutions worldwide. And when they have even the ISDA master agreement as this very standardized instrument to negotiate also swaps and derivatives, OTC markets. Everything is underpinned by legal opinions and standardization. And they have been building this for, as I say, almost 40 years. ISDA has an open source initiative, which is called the CDM, the Common Domain Model. The CDM, by the way, if there's, builders out there and like people that are deep in the Kaspa community on the technical level, this CDM is a GitHub, is an open GitHub that you can just jump in, and they have their own smart contract initiative. So they are building and they're playing around with crypto as a way to do things on a better format. So you have, for example, tokenization initiative from CDM, which I think a company in the UK is called Tokenize. They're building some tests already, and it will be really cool for them. Say, okay, you have your systems, try to implement this with Kaspa, see how it works, see how more efficient it is, how lower, cost it is, how faster it is, and so on and so forth. So I think, yeah, the endeavor to put Kaspa out there is something that you could do on your own, in anything you do, regardless the size of the market, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's so important, I think, people to think about adoption. I think, and what you're highlighting is really driving adoption in any way possible for builders within Kaspa to think about this application that are perhaps outside of traditional crypto application, right?
You have to be honest. I mean, in crypto land, everyone that is building in some chain or some ecosystem most likely is being paid for doing that. So if you have certain product you want to incubate in a particular lab, they will say, okay, you're using this, you'll get this funding, and that's it. So it's very unlikely for them, even if you have better tech, for them to just jump in your playground. People might do this, but not really. The problem is you could have the best technology and it still could fail. So the only way you can have tech that stays in time. Obviously, there is adoption, there is a stakeholder interest, there is partnerships around it, and that's only done by supporting certain synergies. So, for example, you have the likes of of Vigra. Okay, super interesting. Now bringing programmability EVM and is decentralized nodes and the same ethos of decentralization somehow, and you have a DAO, and okay, that's super interesting. If you could tomorrow do 11 and today you have 1, okay, today you have 1, tomorrow we can be 12. It's, if you have something that today's working is good, I mean, why not jump in and support it? So yeah, that's something of value, I guess.
Yeah. So can we go back to the GS compliance engine, right, that you built? So just clarify, it's built for builders within crypto, and not just Kaspa, but it could be any builder that's building within crypto to get compliant essentially with their local regulators. Is that sort of the plan here?
It is nothing to do with specifically with crypto. Like, I mean, in the sense of crypto builders, it could be used by companies working on the digital asset industry. So, for example, you have third-party reporting, you have some sort of relationship with a company on digital assets, you are advising a digital asset company, you're part of the in-house team of a crypto payments, virtual assets provider, and so on. So if you want to file a report or check the documentation that you have been filed, it can just filter the data and help. And also there is like a cool AI that has been fed on all this data and regulations, and it kind of comes up with very cool outputs on actual data. I mean, we even run some tests on this, and it's kind of interesting how it goes.
I see.
And then the idea of the proof of compliance is like a self-assessment test, for example, is nothing that is on the law, is mandatory, but you could prove to the regulator that you have filed certain documentation without actually, disclosing the whole documentation like publicly, right? And then it could be interesting, and that's the things we have a vision in the future, is how put this into some sort of sandbox tests within a regulator, right? So they can test it with their own stakeholders, and that's ideal, because if that happens, for example, there's some innovation license scheme or something, and then they could, encourage their own, not just as a regulator to use such system, but also the people they oversee. And even if they don't use your system, they can just use the idea of real life and real life data reporting, which will be fantastic, and it could avoid issues as the October 10th, 2025, triggering event, the case that came with no legal consequences somehow.
Yeah. So I mean, I can see exchange as one of the parties, because there are so many exchanges globally could be using the system. Have you put it out to people? Like, of course you launched it, but have you?
Not We did a whitelist for a demo, and the intention is to put it out there soon. And yeah, that's pretty much the situation.
I see. And what about the payment side? Like, is it, I mean, if someone wants to use it, will they have to pay in Kaspa or stablecoin? How will that work?
Haven't gone through that yet, because the idea, my intention was first to have this prototype proof of concept live in production, and so one or two clients can test it.
I see.
And then you could either adapt it to the particular client, or then do some bigger efforts on this. Definitely not a subscription models. I'm not so fan of it, but again, we were just playing around with this initially. So the intention is, if we manage to get one or two companies interested in standardizing their compliance filings, or have as a additional set of tools for the work that they already do, is even good to check your current practices. I mean, you can upload proper compliance manuals, and the output will come up with very cool remarks on why you should change it and why not. So yeah.
Awesome. So let me ask you a couple more questions on this, and then I have one last question for you soon. So why specifically Kaspa? Of course, your love for Kaspa, it could be a very big reason, but it could be any blockchain could be used for this thing, right? Not it doesn't need to be Kaspa.
Now, because it's just a test, like the early stage of a pilot, even though it's in production, but it's just now it's just works some sort of a smart contract attestation tool on compliance, right? So you just have this a document that you submit, and you can prove that you submit such document. So that's like for bookkeeping on compliance. Then on the compliance side of things, it can help you modify the content or enhance the content of your filings according to particular legislation. Either you are working in the energy sector, or just in digital asset sector, whatever you are doing. But then the interesting part is, okay, you have this proof. In the future, what you want to do actually is be able to prove to the regulator not just your compliance filings, but also if you are a digital asset service provider, or like some company that is regulator on crypto, or a custodian and so on, you could actually prove your liquidity, your treasury, all your on-chain and off-chain data on a lifetime basis. So ideally, if you want to do that, for me, there is in my mind just one system that can support live data reporting, and it's Kaspa, and the programmability of that system reliable for this matter on a EVM, already well-known format is IgraLabs. So that's why I chose to look into this, and eventually, the idea is to apply to some sort of innovation license for a sandbox test, and try to go through that rabbit hole. But as of now, it's just whitelisted live demo stage. We're not trying to monetize this, launch tokens. There's nothing of that sort.
Oh, good. So no tokens coming anytime soon.
Buy some token is absolutely getting scammed, and there's nothing to do with that on any level. So
yeah, that's very good to clarify. And the thing you just mentioned, which is if these these treasury companies or these exchanges can put live data visible to the public or to regulators at least, that will change the game. Because right now, I think everyone knows that the snapshot doesn't help. Once a quarter, once a month snapshot doesn't help. It's easy to move around assets between cross exchanges, right? So that's a very cool thing. So essentially, that's the big picture for you, is to get there over the course of time, basically.
Yeah, you just mentioned something very, very special, because that's the big problem of crypto, because crypto was born as this new asset class problem, but crypto as a technology holds the key of transparency of many problems that you have. You just updated a video on private credit, which I think is fascinating. And the problem is, like, even the financial crisis and all the shadow banking that happens over the world is lack of transparency. And then there are things that you can prove, and things that you will never be able to prove unless you go to Chapter 11 or some sort of post bankruptcy issue and so on. And then if you want to prove information, the only way, or the value added of live data reporting is something that in the minds of the regulators is just crazy. But this, just let me clarify why. Like, you have financial, regulations, you have fintech regulations, that they have their own characteristics, their own features. But crypto is such a different animal because it trades 24/7, because there is a very different things, decentralized and centralized protocols, that those features make crypto very, very specific. So if there is a regulator, or there is a centralized entity, or there is like an asset issuer, or like a stable coin minter company provider, and so on, if they want to be such, if they want to have that business, they should be put it to the largest, highest bar possible, because you have to protect the public, right? And as I said, like MiCA regulation in the EU has this quarter reporting. In the UAE, they change it to monthly reporting under certain circumstances for stablecoins and so on. But even in a month, you can have a miracle proof, like approved reserves. But that just in 2 or 3 hours, you can do nefarious things with those assets. And the thing is, if you have the chance to do it, they will do it because they can do that. So how you control that? The only way to control, that is through live data reporting. And I think that's why Kaspa is fundamentally interesting. And live data reporting is not just, proof of reserves, proof of composition, how your assets are composed or distributed. Then you have proof of liabilities, which is what you were discussing about private credit. What's happening, behind the curtain that could affect today your balance sheet. And those are fundamental problems. And I think crypto as an industry, even though it's like the new animal out there, holds the keys to this problem. Because if you have, and you're able to prove on a real-time basis all these issues on transparency, you solve the problem of shadow banking, you solve the problem of all these issues. And that includes exchanges as well. And the problem with exchanges is, the moment you have exchange, everything that they do inside, it's very complicated to process. From a forensic perspective, you might be able to do such analysis, but then when it comes to the regulators are not even aware about that. And the exchanges, sometimes they even know your liquidation, data, and they trade against their customers. They speculate with the customers' assets, and they have these various issues on and so on. But then, I guess that the exchanges, they should have more scrutiny. And there is ways now that, for example, you don't have to disclose your proprietary data. You can just prove that something is that you are liquid without disclosing your trades. And for this, you have CK technology coming in for all this information. And I think that's something that is very, very interesting. And I think it's an incredible use case for Kaspa, in the sense that, this new format, you can actually not just confirm this on a very, very cheap basis, but also secure basis, so no one can tamper with, and so on.
Crypto was supposed to be this poster child of what shouldn't happen post 2008, right? That's what Bitcoin white paper was supposed to do, to create this new infrastructure. But now crypto is doing the same things as traditional systems have done, TradFi has done.
It is interesting because if you look into the regulator side of things, and you see the huge distortions of the market nowadays. You have these magnificent 7 companies. They made, I don't know, 40% of the S&P. And then now you have a SpaceX coming public on maybe over almost $2 trillion valuation. And that's like over 100 times earnings. So basically all this private credit and all these VC, different layers, tranches on capital, they will dump into retail on a way that is unprecedented. And this could eventually put down the market as a whole. And that's a huge risk. And it's because of this, very closed door operations.
Yeah, it's I guess no financial advice here. I just want to put that disclaimer. Do your own due diligence, whatever investments and vehicle you put money in. But I think, overall, I think what we are discussing here, there is a shift in the market, and obviously it's good if the markets were more transparent. It's good that, and Kaspa could be the underlying layer that could help build that infrastructure. Let's wrap up this session. So let me ask you this question. One thing you want to leave 6IM audience or Kaspa community, one thing you want to leave them with of the closing of this session?
Yeah, I mean, try to encourage adoption by any means. And that's something that we talked the last time. I mean, the problem with Kaspa community, sometimes they build for Kaspa community. So, or they build for crypto Twitter. And I don't know, there are things out there, there are real-time problems that they might need solutions, and let's see where Kaspa could fit within those efforts. If there's someone intelligent enough, super brilliant in this sense, I mean, jump into this common domain model getup and just absolutely span them, because that's something that, might put eyes around Kaspa from an infrastructure perspective.